Welcome to our Lunchtime Live program on WJEJ, a partnership with Washington County Public Schools at this time each month, the third Thursday of the month. This is Will Kaufman from the Public Information Office, joined by Dr. Mike Kunhaneck, our Supervisor for School Improvement, and Amy Kelly joins us from Clear Spring High School. It's been, I'm going to use momentous, and I don't think that's necessarily overstated. It's been quite a turn of events with the announcement this week of really the implementation of our digital learning plan. Mike, what is that in general terms?
I believe the digital learning plan is basically a streamlined effort to bring common practices, common resources, common tools to teachers and students across Washington County Public Schools. So to this point, we've always had some form of digital resource in our classrooms. We've had them tied into our curriculum, but each school kind of looks a little different. And I believe the digital learning plan is an effort by the board and the elected officials and the superintendent to bring a common vision and common equity, I guess is a great word, for all students across Washington County Public Schools. All
right. How does momentous play? How would, between the two of you, how would you describe just the feeling across the system? You know, there's certainly a level of satisfaction. Amy, what do you think?
I think momentous for students, that students are going to have the same tool and be able to have access to the same applications and same things that some schools have had, some students have had, but now we all have the ability to use them in the classroom, and that just brings us to a whole nother level.
The Board of Education has voted this week. Mike, do you want to do just the basics, the nuts and bolts of what their move meant?
What their movement is that we now have the resources, I believe, to have a clear curriculum and way of delivering our curriculum across the county.
What did they specifically approve for those folks who haven't heard exactly what we're doing?
What they approved is that we're going to move to a 1-to-1 ratio universal standard of devices for iPads for students in grades 3 through 12 and a 1-to-2 standards in grades 2. What that means is that all schools will have equitable resources, equitable access to technology, equitable connectivity, which is a big issue for us. With many of our students in our school system struggling financially, they don't always have the connectivity, especially outside the school, or the resources that others have. So you have disparities not just within the school system, but within each home. And I believe the board sent a very clear message that we want all students to attain. We want all students to have connection. We want all students to have the capacity to advance their learning.
You guys were part of a committee that really looked at this over a period of time. Mm-hmm. What was the committee's work in leading into what went into the committee's meetings, and what was the work leading into a formal vote by the Board of Education?
Well, Amy was on one committee, so I'll let her speak to the Teacher Advisory Committee.
How many committees were there?
There were several different committees. There was a digital steering team, and there was also a curricular advisory team.
Oh, okay.
So we had the curriculum content specialist working on one committee to make sure that whatever device we picked supported things such as the assessment, the parks, the MAP assessment, state-required assessments. We wanted to make sure that that device and its platform could support it. On the same side, we wanted to make sure whatever device we supported or picked could support the vision that our teachers in Washington County Public Schools have. So we broke that committee. There's a teacher advisory team in which there was 4 different teams within that: a primary, elementary, middle, and high.
Okay.
And there was teachers representative of every content area and all levels of the school to then decide how teaching would best be supported and what device could do that. So
right.
Amy can speak.
Amy, that's you?
Yes.
Okay, and so how did those meetings go?
So we really started out looking at different applications and different things that, as technology leaders within our schools, we have been using pretty consistently for a long time, and which ones would really benefit and impact students the most, and focused on those. And from there, then we chose the device that would best fit. So for elementary, middle, and high, a lot of times our teaching and the ways in which we do things can sometimes be a little bit different, but it actually ended up that we all chose the same device because these things really do span the different levels, the different grade levels.
We're not fooling around either. I mean, it's not as if the kids in next school year are going to be having access. I mean, we're getting right at this, right?
This was a very assertive move by the system, but at the same time, I think it complements prior moves. We've been working for the last couple of years to build the infrastructure for access, so the Wi-Fi and connectivity across the schools has been greatly enhanced the last couple of years. So we felt poised from an infrastructure standpoint to move on the next step. It did work out to our benefit, and it was more coincidental than anything, as Amy spoke to, because we didn't go into this with married to any item. We were not married to any device. We really wanted the teachers to explore, so the teachers had the opportunity to explore everything from Chromebooks to Surface Pros to Lenovo laptops to iPads, and they went through, and they were not, every level of the committee was not married to pick one device. They had the autonomy to even pick devices within their level. But at the end of the day, the teachers came back and said the iPad tablet with its educational applications offered the most services for our students, the most flexibility, and the most functionality for the classroom. And when we then put it through the curricular team to say, can it host what we want to do with our curriculum, with our testing, with state assessments, and it passed the litmus tests, then they came full circle. And the benefit of that was also complemented by the fact we already had 6,700 iPads in circulation in the system. So it actually complemented current efforts or prior efforts really well, which helped minimize the impact on the system.
Will we be changing anything because of the device, or we're going to make the device work with what we do, if you know what I mean?
Right. It really is a tool. It's like a textbook or a notebook. You use it where it fits best. And so this is a tool that actually gives us more opportunities to span kids outside of the classroom, be able to connect them to experts, connect them to the world. But there's a time and place for that in the classroom. And so it's kind of the same work, but just with a different type of tool.
What about the teaching staff across the entire county? What kind of an adjustment will this be? I mean, is this one where folks, some folks who may not be as tech savvy as others are just weeping openly, fearing that this is the end of their career as they see it, and they're never going to sleep again? Or, I mean, how about the transition for staff, much less the students?
Well, we're really lucky that we have students that are stepping up and who are experts at these types of devices. And so when I look at a device and I have a question, I know that I can have an expert student, and it gives them ownership in that way. But at the same time, we really rely on one another. It means that we're not staying within our classroom, that we're asking questions, we're seeing how others use it. And so it gives us an opportunity to really rely on one another to see what are the things that we're doing best, being able to ask those questions and get those answers.
Is that something that's in progress? I mean, the professional development aspect of that, is that already either underway or already being scheduled, or where are we on that?
Right. The great news is the plan is comprehensive. It does include a professional learning segment or I guess subsection of the actual digital learning plan. It involves a myriad of people, including IT, media specialists, lead teachers, and their roles, and how PD will have to be there to support them as well. But I also would like to emphasize that we've built a framework in which to grow. In the most recent months, for the teachers, we've created modules, for example, online, in which anyone can access anywhere, anytime. And we've even made them go down to less than 5-minute clips, and they've all been done by experts, teachers within. There is nothing on this digital learning plan that I can point to that I do not believe we don't have experts within our own current system that can advance it. So it's just a matter of, to me, building on the strengths we already have. With regards to teachers in different levels, I mean, yes, we're going to have teachers in different levels, and I think we need to understand that we are in a coaching model. We want teachers to know that we just want you to move forward, and we want to be able to support you as best we can. Just the idea of just embracing the opportunity, though, for the students and for their classrooms, I think is the most favorable decision they can make.
Since the students will be getting these in hand this school year, does that change the dynamic of the school year, where all of a sudden, kids have many more resources, the classrooms are a much more vibrant place, many more options? Does that change in midstream the nature of this school year? Is that good? Is there a caution regarding that?
Well, I think from a teacher's perspective and from a student perspective, it gives them an opportunity to, especially for those who haven't been a part of the device or haven't really used it a lot in the classroom, they're able to just test the waters a little bit and start small. And so when they get into the classrooms, they might not be using them every day or in every in every facet of the lesson, but they're using them. They're getting used to them. The teachers are getting used to them and seeing how they can benefit and enhance their classroom. So it really is that being able to start small and work up from there.
Right, and the benefit of doing it mid-year, actually, there are benefits to it. You know, there's always a pro and con to every situation. Sure. The pro to this situation is that as a digital learning plan, we recommended that the devices be assigned to classroom teachers at this point who express the interest or wanting to do it, work through their school leadership team and their school improvement team to decide how best to deploy the devices for this coming year. For next year, especially at the secondary level, we're recommending that they then be assigned to an individual student. So, Will, you would, for example, have your own iPad next year that you would follow through the school day. But this year, I think more typically what you'll see is that the schools embrace them into individual classrooms where the teachers who feel comfortable or have prior digital experiences and are looking forward to this, go ahead and wading in the waters or swimming in the waters, depending on what level they're at.
That helps a lot, I think, because I think there's at least a segment of the community certainly that had the idea that as soon as those babies come in the crates to the schools on those pallets, the kids are going to line up. We're going to hand them an iPad each. They're going to get lunch and an iPad someday at school, and that's not really the way it's going to go right off the bat.
Not off the bat. We think mid-year trying to do Apple IDs for students, put them in their individual cases, then have them carried around and navigate that. I mean, because then there's the piece of when do you charge, then there's a piece of when do you pick them up in the morning, when you drop them off at day. You could actually be looking at changing schedules for some, and we don't want that type of interference in the school. We believe we're moving forward. We've had many devices in the school. All schools have some devices, so they're operating on a platform already. We're not looking to change their platform this school year. We do think, though, that they're going to want to navigate how that will look for next school year, but that would be the summer, and that's what building up to the summer and next school year would be time to do.
There's really no time. There's no time at the countywide level, at the administrative level, or at the teaching level. There's no time to rest on this at all, because we're actually going to get devices in hand soon. We're going to deploy them to whatever degree this school year, but we're also going to evolve this going into next school year. There's no downtime at all. There's no celebration in any sense. I mean, really, it really is an intense, ongoing series of events to really get full effectiveness for these in the schools. Yeah, Amy?
Well, I think that the celebration, we're all celebrating currently. Right. Students are so excited about it. But most schools have had a little bit of the iPad and technology integration. And so the celebration comes when we get those iPads and we're able to really start to build up to seeing them used in the classroom and our classrooms being transformed because of that. Those mini celebrations, those each days when a kid comes to you, and says, "Look what I did. Look at the project. Look at the things that I've learned or the expert that I've met." Those are the everyday celebrations.
I feel like over a period of time, I've taken those extra moments to represent sort of the old school folks who would say, those stinking computers, all that technology, give them a pad and a pencil and teach them actually how to add and subtract, and particularly at the younger grades. Are we not even asking? I mean, we don't even take on that challenging question anymore. I mean, everything in education has moved beyond those, and I don't mean any disrespect to folks who are old school who believe that the basics are being lost in the technological part of this, but I think we're probably beyond that. Is that the case at this point?
I think that's a fair statement to say we're just moving into a new world. It is a new world. Kids have to be connected nowadays. Adults have to be connected. I think most adults anymore would say that they'd be challenged to do their job without connectivity. And if we're going to say we're going to prepare kids to be college and career ready, I think that's a point. I would encourage people with those viewpoints to go frequent some of the schools. We already have one-to-one schools in the system. We have had them for some years. And it was interesting for me as we went through this process to see, everybody talked about how this would grow their school, what this meant for their school. But what was really interesting is it was an outlier to speak to the schools that were one-to-one and say, how does this affect me? And I was telling Amy actually today if there any barometer of what these devices mean to them, because they were very clear to say, we still keep everything we have, right? We're still moving forward. And the teachers were very clear, we don't want to lose resources in any of this effort. If they're a barometer of where we're going, I believe that you'll see that most teachers will be very, very celebratory very soon.
Those schools that have been ahead of this curve, even before what will be a major acquisition for the school system, what does happen at the practical level for the schools that have already been operating in that whole one-to-one concept?
Clarify for me.
Are they not getting devices, or?
No, they would stay the same. There was no net loss. They stay the same. And as a matter of fact, the principals of those schools and some of the teachers are actually helping us write an implementation plan for how to best make sure we don't avoid the mistakes that they had to wade through, when they first became a one-to-one school. So a lot of their efforts are going to be used to guide us for this summer and how we roll out for the next school year.
What does it mean at home? Because, theoretically, and very practically, every day, every child at those levels from 3 and up is going to have that direct work with a device. How about the transition from that child going home then at the end of the day, rich in a technology experience every day?
Right. We're recommending, in regards to taking devices home, we're recommending that for this school year that schools who there are some schools that are one-to-one that actually take their devices home within Washington County Public Schools and have for years. We're recommending, though, for the schools that are newly embarking on this trail to create a sign-out program for students to still have that access and connectivity if they need it. I mean, I think we need to be very clear and cognizant of the fact that not all students have the same things when they leave school. Right. And bringing that equalizer to their access and their abilities to do homeworks from school, and for example, is huge.
It appears as if we have a phone call, so let's put him on the air. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Kunhaneck and Amy Kelly.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I'm giving a call. I just wanted to give a teacher perspective from with the iPad use. I actually worked as an art teacher and in this county at one of the pilot schools. And I just wanted to talk about the classroom management aspect. And, I mean, it's a very passionate subject for teachers in this county. And the administration has their agenda, teachers have their agenda, and they were working together, making sure everything comes together on this. The management part is the biggest headache for teachers. You end up becoming a tech police, really. You have the YouTube. The kids know how to get around and go to the YouTube. Now I'm talking middle school, even fourth grade and fifth grade. The management gets hard. You have videos they're watching that are inappropriate, guns, violence. You got to do something about it as a teacher. You can keep turning your head all year, but the hard thing is you can't. And, there's text bombs being dropped throughout the class. So what happens is the teacher now has another role playing tech police. I'm sure the board has heard this, but they haven't heard it on the talk show yet.
Okay, let me thanks for the call. Let me have our guests address that. Mike, how about that?
So I think it's important to understand that teacher management and classroom management's been a challenge since the beginning of time. Students can do the same thing with visiting an inappropriate website as they could writing an inappropriate letter into class and passing it from a student to student. But at the same time, I think it's important to realize that the opportunity for students to access and be trained in digital citizenship is something I think that should happen in schools. If the students aren't providing the guidance from the adults in the schools on what digital citizenship, and that's what the caller's referencing, right? It's good quality digital citizenship. And I believe that education is a part of educating the whole child, and digital citizenship is a part of that. I think when you frequent schools that are one-to-one for a collective period of time, what you see is the students start to understand that this is a tool. And it's not a game. Now, will you have students who are outliers that are going to be off task? Absolutely. Is that a challenge for teachers? Always. But I would also challenge you that I believe it's our job to teach them digital citizenship.
Yeah. Major challenge, Amy?
And to speak to that, I don't feel as if I'm the tech police. I've been one-to-one for about a year now, and I don't feel like I'm policing technology. My students are engaged with technology, and when they're not using the technology, we're engaged in other ways. And I truly believe that if we're going to get our students to be college and career ready and be out in the world, we have to teach them digital citizenship. If we have the tools in our hand to teach them how to be good digital citizens and be able to use the technology they have responsibly, that's my job as a teacher, to get them prepared for that real world aspect.
Do you think the parents will have questions as we really start to roll this out? Or will it be a successful transition in school and the parents really, I don't know where the margin would be for the parents in the community to think that, ooh, you might be going a little too fast, or I have these questions. Has anybody raised, other than the budgeting aspect of this, which is that's a whole nother somewhat political issue, but in the very practical educational part of this, you getting any pushback at all from the community?
Most of it's been positively embraced, quite collectively, actually. But I would say that, the team of teachers Amy was a part of, they've navigated through a lot of the concerns, just like the callers shared. There are things, for example, our device management system now where we can actually control what each student can access should they start going down the wrong path. We do have filtration systems in place for all students so they don't access the inappropriate videos or things that he referenced. So, I do believe that there's a couple different levels of layers of support for students in which we can vet resources to make sure that they're on the right path. But in regards to their inquiries, everything I've heard from the parents I've been privileged to speak to have just been, they're more logistical questions than they are concerning questions. I think most people are cognizant of the fact that this is our current reality, and if we're going to prepare kids, we need to prepare them collectively.
Our timing's a little off here today, so in closing of our show today, Mike, if you want to give me a quick sort of timeline as to what happens, like past the holidays into the first of the year. What are the sort of landmark dates as we look ahead at how this rolls out?
Correct. In January and February, you'll see device deployment systemically. So all schools will be brought to at least a universal standard, the one I referenced before of the 1-to-1 grade 3 to 12 and 2-to-1s grades 2. Those devices will be placed in the schools and be operational, I would say, no later than Valentine's Day is what we anticipate. Right. Prior to that, the schools will receive some direction from the central office and from principals who are putting together kind of a guiding way to start rolling these things out. School leadership teams have been and are going to be encouraged to start bracing what does this look like for your school, because I think it looks different for every school. And what we want teachers to understand is this is not a God, we're just going to push them into your room and expect this massive overnight change. No, that's not it. This is going to be a coaching process. There will be some bumps along the way, absolutely, with any new initiative. But I believe it's bumps and bruises that we are willing to take and that will benefit kids in the long run.
See, it seems like we've factored in, and bumps and bruises might feel a little strong to some folks, but we have factored in those kind of moments along the way, where we're, and that's what the committees have, I'm sure, factored in already is, okay, what could happen that may be that bump? Amy, I'm assuming in your committees, or in your committees, that's been part of the discussion.
Yeah, we've always been forward thinking in the sense that who can we go to troubleshoot and to ask questions, and it's been really powerful to hear across the county and be with other teachers, their experiences and what they have learned. And so we can really lean on one another to be able to fix those bumps and bruises before they happen.
All right. Mike, I'll give you a final word before we wrap up. How does this look? How does it feel?
To me, it feels amazing. I used I almost brought a tear to my eye when the board supported it, just because I used the story. When I was a principal of a school, and I won't speak to which school, every morning I had to walk through the cafeteria to go to my office, and every morning I would see a huddle of kids around one person. And if you went to the center of that person, and this was a lower income school, the center of that group in that huddle was one student with one device and usually a phone. The opportunity to bring this to every kid in our system is tremendously important to me. I think it's a game changer for our students, and I think for many kids it's an equalizer in not just life but their ambitions. So a big move for me.
I believe, too, that it'll be meaningful to the broader community, too.
Yeah.
The stronger the school system, and this has to make us stronger, the stronger the community then.
I would hope it echoes very well across the state of Maryland.
Yeah. I appreciate you two taking the time. Big-time subject. Dr. Mike Kunhaneck, the Supervisor for School Improvement, and Amy Kelly from Clear Spring High School, a big part of the work that went into the vote by the school board this week. Thank you two very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the caller for calling in.
Join us each month, the third Thursday of the month at this time, partnership with Washington County Public Schools and WJEJ.